Welcome to The Source, where we combine the headlines with in-depth conversations with the newsmakers themselves. Today on the program, he's one of the front-runners of the 2019 senatorial race.
Hindi lang po pangako, hindi lang po batikos ang dala rito. Merong mga solusyon sa totoong problema ng taong bayan.
Backed by President Rodrigo Duterte and his daughter.
Because I have to be true to myself. Kung ano yung sinabi ko dito, yun na yung suportahan.
But opposition bets slam his no-show attendance in senatorial debates.
Yung nakakalungkot dito, sasabihin niya na wala raw kaming karapatan makipagdebate sa kanya.
These ones are more for the newbies in a sense, no? Kasi yung mga hindi pasyadong kilala.
His Senate priorities and take on key issues addressing the water crisis and the national budget. And is he happy with the implementation of the tax reform law?
The sentiment to do the income tax reform, that I think is long overdue.
Senatorial candidate Sonny Angara joins us live. Thank you for joining us. I'm Pinky Webb. Like father, like son. This holds true in a family of lawmakers who continues to advocate for education and uplift the lives of poor Filipinos through laws. As legislator for 14 years, he had pushed for the passage of more than 80 laws, including the free college law, universal health law, and the VAT exemption for persons with disabilities. Surveys show him as one of the front runners in the 2019 senatorial race. His candidacy endorsed no less by the President and his daughter, Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte. Yet controversies hound his Senate bid. His no-show during debates and forums, and some wonder if he is willing to defend the tax reform law. Let's go straight to the source of the story. We have senatorial candidate and re-electionist Senator Sonny Angara. Senator, good to see you again.
Thank you, Pinky, for having me.
Welcome back.
Salamat, salamat.
Kamusta kampanya?
It's tiring. I think we're only a third of the way there. It's a 90-day campaign, so we're not even 30 days, I think. So, you know, I think you have to pace yourself. It's a long campaign, and there's a lot of travel, and you have to stay healthy, and at the same time, have to be inspiring also for people to vote for you.
Absolutely. You know, I think because we are running this interview on hopefully all the senatorial candidates, and that's the common denominator. Nakakapagod talaga yung kampanya.
Yeah.
But anyway, we'll talk about that a little more later in the interview. Let's talk about first the water crisis. Senator, yesterday we spoke to Manila Water, and they told me that there were about 260,000 individuals, or that's the population that was affected by no water. And when I asked no water, when? Saturday or 2 days? They said 24 to 48 hours. How concerning is this for you?
It's very concerning because even a few years ago, well, just put it within a global context, Pinky, no? There are people or economists who said there will come a time when water will be more expensive than oil. And so, you know, we want to worry because we want to be prepared for that eventuality if it is inevitable. We have to be looking at our resources because there are reports that the two dams which we depend upon, the Angat and La Mesa, are below level. No?
No, it's just really, just to correct that, it's just La Mesa that's below. Angat is not.
Okay. And then we have to ask a certain number of questions like, is it a problem of the service delivery? Because one, you know, we're getting conflicting reports. One service provider is saying there is a problem, one is saying there's none. So that's something that I think our regulators should investigate, and maybe when Congress resumes session, it's something they can look into also, because it's something obviously that with a growing population and we have all these economic ambitions, you know, there'll be a growing demand in the metro and in the greater Manila area. So you really have to be looking at your supply many decades down the road. So that's something Congress can look into.
But among the senators, just really, I want to know, was anyone really looking into this problem?
I think I heard Francis Tolentino talking about it a lot, in fairness to him.
Yes, he's talked about it even in the show. He wants a department that will look into the water problem because there might be a water crisis in 2025. But in the Senate, amongst yourselves, were there any hearings that we could have probably missed? Was it tackled? Would you know?
I don't know if there were, and I wasn't aware of it.
Okay.
I mean, if ever the Senate committees on environment maybe or public services could look at that, could look into those problems. But I remember my father delivering a privilege speech in one of his last years in the Senate about water.
Yeah.
And he would talk about the impending supply problem in the world. He would look at Singapore, and I remember there's a water conference every year in Asia, and he would attend that. So it's something. It's not new actually. It's something that maybe Congress should be looking at the more long-term ramifications. No?
Yeah, and maybe concern yourselves really with this possible problem.
For sure,
Yeah.
for sure. I mean, if you're talking about build, then you have to be looking at basic services too.
Yeah. I guess, sir, every year, or mostly, obviously, number one, it's summer. The demand during summer is higher. There is El Nino. The last time it was 2015 to 2016, I believe, and then El Nino again now. I guess what I want to find out, sir, is this going to be a problem over and over again? We always look at the La Mesa Dam. Let's show photos of that. Again, it's below critical level already. Ganito na lang ho ba ang mararanasan natin? At yung tao ho, because ang laking problema, domino effect sa mga karinderya, sa
Food,
mga,
yeah.
Everything, sir.
Yes.
Laundry,
Yes.
yung mga businesses
business
nila.
is affected. Yeah. Well, El Nino I think is a yearly thing. It's how we deal with it, perhaps, that would answer your question whether it's a perennial problem. If you have long-term solutions in place, then you don't have to be so worried, and it doesn't reach emergency levels.
So parang di natin
that's where
talaga-
Congress can come in, I think, and we have a lot. They say now we have about 30 agencies dealing with water and sanitation. You have your
Is it
national
really 30?
water. Yeah, they said National Water Resources Board. You have LUA.
Yeah.
You have the MWSS.
You have the National Water.
Yes,
yeah,
so there's so
said that,
many.
yeah.
They have the DNR. So
In fact, that's what I wanted to ask you. I mean, before we went on air, sabi ko, Senator, sino ba talaga who's in charge?
well, if you're talking about water service providers, meaning the consumers, then that's MWSS.
And that's the concessionaires
Yes.
together with, but
Yes.
it becomes a little confusing when you have LUA, you have the National Water Resources Board, etc.
Yeah, maybe we have to. We really need a discussion, a high-level discussion as to how we whether our underlying philosophies are still valid, and whether these agencies are still serving the people well, and things like that.
Also making headlines today and yesterday, sir, there are three priests, Father Robert Reyes, Albert Alejo, and Flavi Villanueva, who had a press conference yesterday. And pinag-isipan daw nila kung lalabas sila. And then they finally decided na lalabas kami and revealed that they have actually been receiving death threats. So again, as a senator, is this something that should concern the legislators as well? Let's just put it possibly, sir, bangayan between the president and the clergy and some members of the clegy.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Just because there are death threats, maybe I don't know if that should automatically be thrown at the feet of the president. But definitely, it is a cause for concern, and the PNP should make it a priority to protect people like this. If anyone should be protected, it should be the critics of the government, to show that we are a democracy and we value freedom of speech and expression.
Is it getting too far, you think?
Is what getting too
Ito,
far?
yung...
The threats?
No, not the threats.
Yeah.
The problem between how the president possibly hits the clergy and how the clergy also hits the president's war on drugs. Yung ganun ho, is it getting out of hand?
Yeah, I think I would welcome a dialogue between, di ba? Parang maybe have a session of church leaders and the president. That's been done before by other presidents. So why not? I think dialogue would always be welcome. So it's not really good to see our top institutions, engaging in mudslinging.
Yeah, and of course separation, sir.
Separation of church and state, yeah, but
Church and state.
that doesn't mean that that just means that the state should not favor any religion.
True.
That's the origin of the separation of church and state, meaning the state should not favor, because there was a dominant religion in the past, and that was Roman Catholicism, no. But it doesn't mean that it doesn't prevent the leaders of the state and the church from talking to each other.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, budget. Also, sir, kailan ho ba mapapasa ang budget? Medyo nagkakagulo na naman ngayon.
It's a bit unheard of in the last few years. No, we're used to passing the budget on time, so it's a bit surprising that it's taken this long. maybe perhaps the leadership change in the House had something to do with it, and the new House leaders were not happy with how the old House leaders did their budget. But they're conflicting versions, and I don't want to.
Aren't there? There are. It's
there
actually
are.
confusing me too.
Yeah, but
who's touching it? Is it the senators or is it the congressmen?
Well, basically, if you've already approved it, that parang last touch theory, you cannot touch it anymore. Basically, what you approved, that should be the enrolled bill. The enrolled bill is what the Senate and the House approve. They enroll it and they send it to Malacanang for signature.
Union ratified. That's what you mean by
yes,
the enrolled
yes.
bill.
Yeah, you cannot. If you're going to correct anything, it's just something clerical, meaning a word was misspelled or you forgot a preposition, something like that. But you cannot change the substance of what you approved.
So is this a problem between the senators and the congressmen, or the leadership of the Senate and the leadership of Congress, ganun, the House of Representatives?
I really don't know, because when it comes to the budget, I'm fairly low down the totem pole. You have to ask the leaders and the chairman of the finance committee who really know. They see the forest and not just the trees.
So, you have to ask people like the Senate President, Senator Loren Legarda,
Yes,
of course,
yes,
Congressman Andaya, possibly Speaker Gloria Macapagal-Arroyo, but we're in the month of March, and still we do not have a passed budget.
Yes, it's difficult because we haven't had a reenacted budget in a while. No? I'm not sure if it was the time of President Aquino or the time of President Arroyo, but this will be the first time, if ever. Well, we are operating on a reenacted budget, but the hope was in a few months we would have had a new budget.
Yeah.
And the idea really behind having a new budget is because your needs are increasing every year, and this is a government that wants to aggressively spend for infrastructure to pump prime the economy. So there's a cost to that also,
But does it really concern you? Because, for example, sir, could this possibly affect the universal health care?
For sure, yeah.
Diba?
It could.
The budget.
It could affect all new projects for 2019 that are planned. So then, if the budget is not approved, there has to be some kind of juggling of funds there, and then set aside some projects and say these are the ones we want to push this year.
Yeah, but as you're saying, you're a little low on the food chain on this. It's really up to the leaders.
It's the chairman of the committee and the Senate leadership who have to decide what to do, because the delay is not good, obviously, no. But again, it takes two to tango when it comes to this. No?
Yeah, but before we leave though this subject, I guess this is what I want to find out. Because of this issue that has been dragging on for so long, does it actually affect possibly the credibility of some senators, or the Senate as an institution, or the House of Representatives as an institution? Why? Because you're talking about, I don't know, sir, 75 billion, Senator Ping Lacson saying now 90 billion, that was number one, realigned. And the latest, Senator Ping Lacson saying that 90 billion was realigned, 75 billion are parked in the DPWH for some congressmen to touch in the future. To me, sir, that's sport, because you can't do lump sum anymore.
There's the DAP decision, which says that any post-enactment involvement by legislators that's the definition of pork barrel.
Yeah.
So you can't do that. You have to itemize and put, and if there are lump sums, it's the executive who must. Congressmen can only recommend. They cannot, as a matter of right, say, this money should go there. They can only recommend.
Okay, we'll be taking a short break. This is The Source on CNN Philippines. Still to come, we're going to talk about his priority bills, and is he still open to a debate with opposition bets? Also, answer some of the questions on social media. Senator Sonny Angara will still be with us after the break. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. Our guest today, re-election, is Senator Sonny Angara. Sir, the debate, you've said that this could possibly be for newbies, and sinasabi ng iba, takot ka lang ata pumunta sa debate. I heard you say, sir, pumupunta ka naman sa ibang debate.
I went to 3, actually. It's a forum, actually, because you're 3 candidates. So I went to the big ones by the 2 big radio stations.
DCMM,
and Double B, and they, how tough they can be. And I went to one in my school, which was me, Senator JV, and Dr. Willie Ong.
Okay.
So that was covered by ANC.
Okay.
So you're also asked quite difficult questions there.
Yeah.
I guess they want to make it appear that we're avoiding, but not really. We're just managing where we appear. Our time is important, obviously, as all candidates' time is important. So,
absolutely.
So the choices we make are something we think about.
So I guess let me put it straight, sir. Why did you choose to go to the 2 radio stations instead of going to CNN, ABS-CBN, or GMA?
Yeah, I notice in the format of these town hall type debates, you have very little time to explain. And those ones I went to, you have an hour which is shared among 2 or 3 candidates. So you have a little bit more, you have the luxury of time to explain you have more time and you're not really under time pressure. It's difficult to explain certain issues in one or 2 minutes. No? So that's one reason. And there's so many. Sometimes it can become like a circus. You know? So,
Well, yeah, that is
Yeah.
true. However, I would have to beg to disagree because we have many forums every weekend on CNN where we have about 3 or 4 candidates only. Would you be willing to show up to that one?
maybe, perhaps, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So yun, pwede ka doon.
Perhaps, yeah.
So when people say, sir, that siguro takot lang si Senator Sonny dahil sa train law, what do you say to that?
Well,
Ayaw lang niyang matanong tungkol
You've
dyan.
asked me about train many times, Pinky, and I think in many interviews, and most, if not 90% of my interviews, I'm asked about trains. So
Yeah.
I don't think that's true. Yeah.
Do you think, though, that are you getting tired of having to defend the train law? Pwede ho ba yun?
Hindi naman. It's just that a lot of these questions have been asked before and have been answered already. So if there are new questions, I'm happy to answer those. Yeah.
So when people say that, how do you feel na tumaas ang presyo ng bilihin, well, I have to ask that again, tumaas ang
Yeah.
presyo ng gasolina dahil sa train law? Kasi, sir, ganito yan eh. Alam naman natin that ang ipinupukol sa inyo as a legislator is the train law.
Right.
That's really the number one. So,
Sure.
tumaas ang presyo ng bilihin ng gas dahil Senator Sonny Angara, pakisagot nga po yun.
But you know, you can't deny it because that's a matter of fact that you just check the prices and you know that the price of gasoline and petroleum products has gone up. Whether it's due to the train law, that's another thing. That's a different debate. And as I've said before, if the price of at the peak of inflation when it hit almost 7% in October or November 2018, maybe the price went up of gasoline went up by about 12 to 15 pesos. I don't know the exact figure. How much was the tax at that point? The tax was 250 at that point. What was the price of crude oil? Those are the things we have to talk about, diba? The price of crude oil almost doubled from $50 a barrel to $100 a barrel. So, I mean, you ask 10 economists, 9 out of 10 will tell you it's because of the global demand, Pinky. So that's something that we've repeatedly pointed out.
Yeah.
I think economists, resource persons, government officials have repeatedly pointed out. But, syempre, gustong gamitin niya ng ibang partido o individual para talagang for political benefits.
Oh, to put
and
you down.
I can't blame them for that because maybe that's how they see their role in our political arena. But I think at least the public knows what are the facts, what are the assertions, and we've not shirked from our obligation to explain. So I think we've explained it enough.
Okay, then let me ask you this question. Could it have been better? Or number 2, do you have any regrets passing it?
Do I have any regrets? Maybe the amount. Maybe we could have spread it out over 4 or 5 years.
Which one's the petroleum, sir?
Yeah, petroleum. Kasi, but having said that, the original proposal of the DOF was a 6 peso tax.
Yes.
And I think the intention of Congress was very good in the sense that
In
let's spread out the
installment,
pain.
yeah.
Let's spread out the pain. But looking back at 2018, it was like a perfect storm. You know, you've seen that movie Perfect Storm where, you know, the rain is strong and the waves are strong, unusually strong. Parang ganun yung nangyari. No one predicted that oil would hit $100. No one predicted that the US would threaten Syria. No one predicted that the trade war between US and China would happen. So it was a perfect storm in a sense. So now we're seeing from 7%, almost 7%, I think the latest figures were 3.8%.
3.8, sir,
and they're saying
February.
3% for the rest of the year. That's manageable. That's pre-train levels. Actually.
Okay, so but you were saying something that looking back, you could have spread it out, into 5 years? Would you
4
have rather
years,
done
5
that?
years, yeah. That's something that's something I consider also. But then,
But there's nothing wrong with that if it's something that, sir, I mean, you guys implemented this and then you look back and you say, well, maybe I could have done 4 years or 5 years.
yeah, that's something we think about, you know, like what about 150 a year? So over 4 years, that's 6 pesos still.
Right.
But then that would have set the infrastructure program back by a year. So that's the counterbalance to that, you know. What ifs, you know.
Wait, but was there
we have to live with what we did.
Yeah, and so you are. In fact, you have a friend are you still friends with Congressman
Yes,
Eric
yes,
Tanyada?
yes,
Nagsasagutan
yes.
kayo. In
Yes.
fact, he has a couple of questions for you. He was our guest yesterday. And yun naman talaga yung gusto niyang tanungin sa'yo, yung train law. And two other things, if I remember right. Let's listen.
He's a good legislator, but there are questions on the positions he's taken with regard to issues that crop up.
Such
For
as?
well,
Top
again,
three.
of course, trade,
Okay.
women's rights, EJK, rice tarification. No, kailangan mahula. He may have voted for it, but is his heart into the law?
Would you care to answer that, sir?
Which one? There's
Well,
a
he
couple
talked
of there.
about
I think.
Matabe. Women's rights, he wanted to ask
What-
you,
what in
EJK.
particular about women's
Siguro
rights?
it's
Yeah.
also, I think I asked him off air because we didn't have a lot of time. Parang sinasabi niya, the president's remarks on women, yung ganon.
You know, a senator is the highest. The Senate is the highest policy-making body in the Philippines, Pinky. You know, and should you concern yourself with the daily remarks of the senator? After 6 years, what you will say is, oh, kinontra ko ang presidente, o sinagot ko ang presidente. I think that's a bit shallow, you know. You have to say, after 6 years, you have to say, how did I improve the lives of how did I improve the lives of Filipinos? And what did they gain new rights because of my 6 years? Did they gain new benefits because of my 6 years? I think yes, because now we have free tuition, now we have free healthcare. So these are concrete things na nahahawakan at nararamdaman ng ating mga kababayan.
Natatamasa ng publiko.
I think that's the important thing. You know, there's a lot of political noise in every administration. So I think for the Senate, you have to rise above that political noise and come up with something positive and give our people hope.
So when they say stuff like, masyado kang tahimik about the EJK and all this, would it be proper to say, sadya yun? Ganun ba? Because you are focusing on other
No, that's an
priority
opinion,
bills.
Pinky, that we've been silent on EJK. But when Kian was killed in Caloocan, we were
During the
among those
hearing.
who signed the resolution
Okay.
condemning it, and the court has since convicted, I think. There's been a conviction at the trial court level. So we should let our institutions do their job. And our job as an institution was to condemn something that was a human rights violation.
And you conducted an
And we did it.
investigation
Yes.
into that. Sir, let's talk about your priority bills. Of course, you're talking about, when you talk about Angara, ever since, it was always education, and then you're saying also healthcare. There was a question actually in social media. Isasama ko na yon. The question was, here it is. Name one most popular and least popular law that you authored. I'm sure alam na natin yung least popular. From Twitter user at Maki1884. Maybe you can answer that, sir.
Well, the most popular.
What are you most proud of? Siguro most popular, most proud of.
The seniors one is very popular. My dad authored the senior citizens discount, and what we did was we removed the VAT.
Yeah.
So the 12%. So that's the expanded senior citizens, which was passed. As I was still a congressman. So that one's quite popular. Among schools, the anti-bullying one is quite popular. The parents like that one. Free college, obviously, is quite popular.
Tatlo na yun, sabi one.
Yeah.
Other ones are
Thank you.
very
Thanks for the free campaign time.
Okay, and then the least popular.
The
Would you
least
say
popular, well,
such a-
yeah, I guess the excise tax. No one likes a new imposition, no?
Nobody likes new taxes.
Exactly. Yes.
sir.
Yes. That's right.
Basically,
that's
right.
Yes.
All right.
But the thing is, Pinky, everyone talks about the excise tax. But when you criticize, say, how come they don't talk about the income tax exemption of 250,000, which benefited millions of families?
Right. Which was
And
part
no
of
one
that
talks about the
train.
estate tax. No one talks about the simplification of the tax code. The tax return used to be 12 pages. Now it's 4 pages.
Right.
You know? These things like the VAT return for small entrepreneurs, you don't have to do it every month now. You can do it quarterly. You know, these are the little things that, like I said, when all is said and done, maybe I won't be here anymore. But those are things that will be felt by our countrymen.
Okay, again, another short break. We'll be right back. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. Our guest today, re-election is Senator Sonny Angara. Sir, if you win, you are ranking number 6, so mukhang medyo sure win ka. What would be your first priority should you win again?
Well, I don't see it that way, that I'm a sure win. That's why we're working very hard every day, Pinky. No? But having said that, what are my priority areas? I think the implementation of the laws we passed, the education, that's important because these are laws which need a lot of funding. So you're talking about free college education, and you're talking about universal health care. But having said that, I think we need to do something on the jobs front. I think we have to launch a new Made in the Philippines campaign because
Which is what? Tell us about that.
because we don't take pride in what's made here in the Philippines anymore. So we don't care that whether we make things or not, or it doesn't have to be a particular good. It doesn't have to be a cell phone. It can be a service that we perform. But we have to figure out what our core competencies are and try to leverage on that. Because if we look at the countries in the region, we're falling behind in terms of GDP per capita, meaning the income of an average
Yes.
Filipino. So that's something that I think you have to bring in things like innovation.
That's good, yeah,
So
yeah.
that's something we have to look at.
So it's really supporting a lot of Philippine-made and Philippine talent.
Philippine talent, and because I've seen, I went to, in the course of some of the hearings in the Committee on Ways and Means, I had the chance to visit some of the investment sites, like the eco zones.
Yeah.
And there are some very interesting high-tech things going on, like we're making the insides of airplanes, and in the course of that, some Filipino engineers who are working in Singapore were brought home. So it's the opposite of the OFW phenomenon. So that's something we should be looking at. No one's really looked at how to bring home our OFW.
Yeah. But you remember, the president was saying, nung bagong presidente pa lang siya, ayaw na niyang may umaalis, gusto
Sure.
na niyang may bumabalik. We have a minute left, sir. I'm sorry, but here's a question. My father is an OFW at pagod na siya kaka-work abroad at napakasakit malaman sa dayuhan Chinese binibigyan trabaho sa Pilipinas para na lang musical chair. Ano po ang plano mo, Senator? Naku, ayun na nga yun, para sa Pinoy, ibigay ang trabaho sa Pinas.
Well, that's a coincidence. Yeah, we were talking about that.
Yeah.
And that's why we have to. If things are made here in the Philippines, then you'll have more jobs. So we have to. The things like the Freeport area of Bataan has created 20,000 jobs in about 5 years. So that's something that you want to replicate all over the country.
Yeah.
How did they do it? How do you build up your manufacturing sector? How do you keep the BPO momentum going? Someone has to put all these efforts together.
Okay, I wish we had more time pero wala na po. Senator, maraming salamat po
Thanks
sa
a
inyo.
lot, Pinky.
And of
Yeah.
course, good luck.
Thank
Good
you
luck
very
to
much.
you.
I'll need it. Thank you.
Thank you to Senator Sonny Angara. Thank you for joining us here on The Source. I'm Pinky Webb. You're watching CNN Philippines.